What's going on? Welcome to Asian Cosell. So I got a video for a K Explorer, and this Korean chick said, yeah, she was born and raised in Mexico, and that's right. There's a Korean community in Mexico City, and they first went to Osaka. So there's some Koreans that grew up in Mexico, so they speak like fluent Espanol, Spanish. So let's listen in on this video. So let's get to it.
안녕하세요, 강남입니다. I am 22 years old. I am Korean. pero también hablo muy buen español porque nací en México. 저는 지금 외국에서 살고 있고 I really like living in both countries, like in Mexico and in Korea. Y la verdad es que yo soy más mexicana que nada. Viva el cártel de Santa. Vale que sí.
Can you briefly introduce your background?
My name is Nara. I am Mexican Korean. I was born and raised in Mexico, but I have Asian parents. So basically, my dad is from Mongolia and my mom is from Korea. But I feel like both of them were like the hippies from the family. Like they're like, oh, I want to explore, explore different cultures. And they fell in love with Mexico out of every country they went to. And actually, my dad was like a college student. No, not a college student. He was doing a PhD in Mexico, and my mom was like a worker. Like she was working for like a Korean company. And one day, like my mom decided to throw like a party. She decided to throw a party for her roommate, and my dad was like one of her like roommate's friends. So he showed up, and as soon as like my mom saw him, she was like, "Oh shit, that's mine! Like I'm taking him home." And just like said and done, like my mom and my dad got married 6 months later, and then I was born 2 years later, and they decided to just like raise me in Mexico.
What was it like, just growing up in Mexico?
It's a pretty interesting experience because I was actually in one of the sections of Mexico, like one of the parts of Mexico where there's like quite a bit like a community of Asians. Because in Querétaro, like that's the city I lived in for a long time. That's where a lot of cars, like Kia, Hyundai, like car companies are based. So there was a Korean community, but I did not consider myself Korean or Asian at all. Like I thought I was Mexican for the longest time. Yeah. I did not think that I was part of this culture because I had never been here. Like my mom didn't really expose me to Korea that much, nor Mongolia. Like my parents were like, no, just live your life in Mexico, and then later on you could discover other parts. It was like me growing up as a Mexican and then realizing I'm not.
Yeah. And like after realizing that you were not Mexican, like how did that make you feel? Like did you feel a certain way about that?
I mean, I've always dealt with some like a degree of rejection, because people sometimes see foreign people and they're like, oh, like they're not part of us. But as soon as like I would start talking, they'd be like, oh, like wait, you are Mexican. So to me, like that filter that people would put up on me was like something that kind of made me realize that maybe I'm not normal. And at first I was a little bit sad because I was like, oh, I cannot fit like the standards for my own country. I feel like I am always going to be a little bit of an outcast. But then I kind of saw the beauty in it. I was like, damn, wait, I can be like a multicultural citizen. And I embraced it a lot. And I feel like a lot of people, especially in social media, embraced it and celebrated as well. So it was something good, something bad that turned into something really, really cool.
What is your full name?
So I have like 3 different names. In Korea, I'm Kangnara because my mom is Kang. But my surname is like Mongolian, Pasanhu. So it's like Naransul. That's my Mongolian name as well.
Do you have a Mexican name?
I liked to call myself Jimena.
Oh, Jimena. Okay. Yeah, and a few times when I was in LA. Yeah, I was kind of shocked because I met like some of the Korean Mexicans like, oh, Espanol. Oh, okay. Creo que aquí es que sea. I was like, oh wow. So yeah. So not surprised at all because now in today's times and even growing up in the 80s and 90s, there's like Koreans that lived in Mexico and they speak like Mexicans speak fluent Spanish. So let's continue.
Jimena.
So you made that up?
Yeah. Like like Beyonce, she has like an alter ego, like Sasha Fierce. I'm Jimena. Jimena Kang,
And how many languages you speak?
Good. like one. I always like mess up like my different language, like the different languages I speak. Like sometimes I can't even speak Spanish or English nor Korean, but I did study Spanish. Like my first language is Spanish, and then English, and then Korean. Studied a little bit of French and German, and then Mongolian.
What cultural difference stood out to you whenever you find yourself like coming back to Korea?
It was a whole new world. I was like, I feel like Aladdin. I was like, oh damn! Like, I just thought Korea was so modern, so technological. Like the people were all like in unison, working towards like the same goal, which was like becoming a leading country, you know, like becoming such a beautiful country in like such a short time. Because like my parents that raised me telling me the stories of like Korea struggling a lot. Like my grandpa, he's from North Korea actually, which is crazy. So he was like almost like a defector. He fought for the war, and I grew up like with my mom telling me stories about like, oh, like Korea was such a different place, and I had never been to Korea. And then when I stepped in Korea and I saw like everything, I was like, oh my god, like no wonder everyone is obsessed with it. I am so surprised at how modern and how beautiful everything is. It's almost like I feel like I'm in
Yeah. Oh.
Disneyland all the time. Mexico is a very warm country. For instance, like warm is in like people are very like caring and they're super sweet, super friendly people. I feel like Koreans are a little bit like more respectful, like very like at first there's like a very big distance, but then when they warm up to you, they're super kind. I feel like that's a difference when it comes to people. Food, oh, the MSG here is like crazy. I love it. Like Korean food is delicious. Mexican food is delicious as well, but I feel like it's very different. Like Mexican food is like very homey, like home. It feels like you're getting like a home cooked meal from your mom. You know, like like some warm taco, some warm like delicious like food. And Korea is like, oh yeah, like chicken and like stews and soup. It can also feel like a Korean mother is like giving you food, but Korean food is just delicious. Like, oh my god.
Do you see yourself living in Korea long term?
I love Korea, but I feel like a Westerner. So I have this like little story I want to share with you guys. When I first came to Korea, I felt like very out of place. And the first thing I wanted to do was to like adapt to become a Korean, to like make my family proud, to make my mother proud, to become like what I was meant to be, for instance. Like I felt like the ugly little baby duck that you know that doesn't know where they fit, and like with a lot of no, it's the ugly swan. It's a little ugly baby swan with a lot of like duckies in Mexico, right? So when I came to Korea and actually saw the swans, I was like, oh, this is where I belong. So many.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Korea's Korean, and of course, uh, being Korean American, it's a culture shock. When I first came here, culture shock, and then you just best as you can adapt as much as possible. But it is what it is. So yeah,
Koreans, like I feel like I can blend in finally. But I feel like that turned out to be a little bit more difficult because I couldn't blend in. Like I tried studying Korean, I tried like adapting, I tried doing a lot of things to become as Korean as I could be because I genuinely love this country. But after 4 years of living here, I was like, oh wait, actually, I don't think I can be that Korean, you know? Not to the level where I thought I could get. Like I
hmm
can embrace the culture, I can accept it, and I can like feel it through my veins.
that's
But
it.
I feel like I came in too late to the game, to the point where I can't understand certain things. I realized that even though I love Korea, my identity kind of formed in the Western world.
Yeah,
So for me, the best of both worlds would be to just like jump from country to country, like live in Korea, but also live in Mexico, like visit my family and also visit my friends in Mexico. Like just become a perpetual traveler. I feel like for me, it's difficult to say that I'm based in one place because I really love to move. There's always going to be like a piece of my heart everywhere, not only in Korea and Mexico, but like Mongolia, the US, Japan, like just everywhere I go, I'm like, oh, I always leave a piece of my heart. And that's where my heart is what I call home. So I feel like my home is like the whole world, you know?
yep. Just like U.S. is mine. literal home, even if, I was born in the US and just like she was born in Mexico. So yeah, I'm going back and forth too. So I'll be heading to the US really soon. So just to of course work a little bit and then get back out to Korea. But of course for myself I do prefer living in Korea, but it is what it is.
I don't think I can live long term here.
Would you date someone outside of your culture?
I've had an ex from Korea and an ex from Mexico. And something I've noticed is that people love very differently depending on which culture they're from. And I feel like for me, the person that would be the most compatible with me would be someone who's like mixed the same way as I am. Because I've encountered that when someone is strictly from one culture, born and raised, and just kept living in the same culture for like a long time, there's aspects of myself that sometimes they cannot understand. So that makes it a little bit difficult to date. I know there's like this weird connotation when it comes to someone saying, "Oh, I want someone who's open-minded," but I really want to mean it as in like, "Oh, I want them to like be able to understand like the whole picture of who I am as a person." I would like. I don't really see culture, race, or age or anything. Like as long as there's a really good compatibility and respect with each other, I feel like it's the best.
How did your Korean heritage affect your upbringing in Mexico?
So I did not celebrate Christmas or nor New Year's nor Easter nor like the biggest holidays in Mexico because in my family, in my home, we celebrated like the Lunar Year. We celebrated the Mongolian like holidays as well as Korean holidays. We were more centered towards holidays that were from Asia. So it was very interesting to see because in Mexico, like holidays are so important, and even religion, even like everything that like makes up a culture was kind of switched up for me. Like when Christmas came around, like for instance, my parents did not celebrate it, and instead of saying like, "Oh, Santa is coming and bringing you guys gifts," I got like a $20 bill. Like, oh no, like, oh, happy Christmas, On New
Feliz
Year's, for example,
Navidad.
like I remember that in Mexico, like the gatherings are huge. Like Mexico is very focused on like big communities, like the cousins and the uncles and the parents and like all of them like get together to like throw a party. But we were a family of four, completely by ourselves. So sometimes that would affect me, because I wouldn't be able to understand why I couldn't get the same treatment and why I was celebrating different things or why I was not raised on a religious like on the same religious like community. And it was very difficult to understand. I feel like my home was very multicultural to the point where it was its own little culture.
How do you learn Mongolian?
I spent a lot of my childhood not isolated, but I really like staying at home with my family. So sometimes they would just say words, but they would not tell me which language it was from.
Right.
Like they would just be like, "Oh, so this is grass," But in Spanish, it's pasto. So I would like go outside and be like, "Oh, this is grass. Esto es grass." And people would be like, "What are you talking about, girl?" People think that I am kind of like weird because I like
Yeah.
switch up languages a lot. But I was just taught the words that way. And I feel like a lot of it, like a lot of the Mongolian I learned was the same way. Like, oh, the food is called boots. So if you want to say hi to my grandma, I just say "Sambeno," I just learned it that way and did not learn it otherwise until later on. Korean too, because I did not grow up speaking Korean because I was shy. So I was like, "Oh, Korean, I don't know how to." It was such an intimidating language for me. So I did not grow up speaking it. The thing that I struggle the most with in Korean is like speaking, but I'm really good at like reading, hearing, da da da.
So earlier on, I asked you about like if you knew Preply.
Yeah.
Preply, they're the sponsors to this video.
Oh.
If you're looking up to level up your Korean skill, you should check out Preply, today's shout sponsor. Preply connected with amazing tutors from all over the world who are ready to help you. Whether you're trying to finally master Korean or maybe you have a big Korean exam coming up, check out Preply and they have you covered with all that. Is your Korean good enough?
Yeah.
한국어 어떻게 배웠어요?
한국어는
Okay, so now we're gonna get to hear her in Korean and see how well it is. So she's been here 2 years. So let's get into this.
내가 2020년대 한국에 오자마자 한국어 배우기를 시작했습니다. 그러다가 2년 동안 공부를 했고 그냥 멕시코로 다시 가서서 다 잊어버렸어요. 다시. 내가 말을 오랫동안 안 하면 다 잊어버려.
저도 그 해외 만약에 한 일주일 동안 여행 가도 되면 어쨌든 그 해외 가면은 다 영어 쓰잖아요. 그래서 이 영어 계속 쓰면은 한국말 아예 진짜 까먹어요.
So Preply is such a great
Exactly, it's
platform.
such a great platform for you to like keep
Oh,
revising on your Korean.
right.
You guys should definitely check out Preply. And also, the good thing about Preply is you can choose thousands of tutors from anywhere in the world, and also like a tutor that will definitely match your schedule that works for you. And also, if you really want to know more about that tutor, you can also check reviews about them from other students, which would actually help you to see if that tutor is a match for you. Doesn't that sound amazing?
Oh, that sounds really great.
What I really love the most about Preply is lessons are totally flexible. My friends at Preply, they have a special offer for my viewers. So if you are learning Korean, you can, or any language, apparently, you can actually click the link down in the description and you get a 50% off your initial lesson on Preply. So what are you waiting for? Just click that link below.
Yeah.
You were born in Mexico. Do you identify as a Mexican or a Korean?
I would consider myself a little bit of everything. I feel like there's aspects that make me and identify me as a Mexican, and there's parts of me that I identify myself as a Korean. But I would say like I'm way more Westerner than I am like Asian, which is something I want to like balance out a lot more. It's funny because the other day like I got a hate comment that got like 100,000 likes. Someone was like, "Oh, like Nara wants to be Mexican when she wants to be Mexican, and she wants to be Korean when she wants to be Korean." And the answer for that, like, I feel like it would be a great time to answer that. Like, yeah, of course, I am proud of being.
Yeah.
처음 이불을 시작했을 때
네.
광부를 했는데
And you get to
다른
do
사람들이
Eve.
What I am, you know, like
Right.
rejecting something in favor of something else would make me feel like there's a part of me that's missing. It's like saying, oh, like do you prefer your mom or your dad? I can't say like, oh, I love my mom more when it's convenient. I love my dad more when it's convenient. You just love all of it. And so the hater that commented that, I was hurt.
Yeah, you shouldn't do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's very
that
bad.
is wrong.
Yeah, that's very bad. They're jealous of madam. They're jealous.
Yeah.
What's the Korean culture Mexicans misunderstand about Korean culture?
That we don't look alike. Like everyone is different. I
Yeah.
feel like in Latin America, people think that Asians are all the same. I mean, we all have like similar features, but you know, they're all different. Like Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, and something that people misunderstand about Korea is that I think there's a part of Mexico that loves and understands all about Korea. And
Yep. And the truth of that is, yeah, you just live your life, There's because I grew up in the US, the States. So I've just lived in Korea the past 10 years, so it is what it is.
and another part of it that just thinks it's straight up weird. Like some people think Korean guys are like kind of like too feminine, or that they're too like cute. It can come off as like cringe. Sometimes that people think that Koreans are a little bit just weird, you know, but they're not. They're really cool. They just have a different like way of like expressing themselves, and I feel like the whole cute thing. I feel like it's a little bit. People think it's cringe, especially in the West, but I think it's really funny when they're like, "Oppa, boy, boy, boy," you know, like. When I was like younger, I used to reject a lot of like what's popular, not popular, but what's like traditional in either part of it of the cultures, like on both cultures or like either of them, because I'd be like, oh, I don't want to look like any other Korean. In my mind, in my very ignorant mind, the past, I was like, I don't want to look like any other Korean. Like I want to look different, so I would dye my hair orange and like wear different types of things and stuff. But I feel like there came a point where I was like, oh my god, like Korean stuff actually looks so good on me. Like no wonder, you know, like even like my style is a little bit more Korean now. Yeah. So I learned to embrace it, and I love it.
Well, it was nice chatting with you today, Nara. Thank you for being in my video.
Thank you so much for spending this afternoon with me. I really appreciate it. See you on my channel. 안녕하세요.
Okay, so shout out to K Explorer. And yeah, so she grew up as a Mexican Korean. So yeah, we get it. I get it. So, and for myself, yeah, Korean American. So two cultures. So yeah, you just go roll with the punches pretty much. All right. So if any of you enjoyed India's content, please give me the HKO special. Help the king out. Hit the like, subscribe, and comment. And wherever you are, stay safe. And I'll see you in my next video.